Hello, I think I'm in.
You are in.
All
Welcome.
right, thanks for having me. Let me just bring up my screen here. I think I need somebody to allow that to happen. Let's try again. Oh, there we go. All right, are you just ready for me to start rolling?
Whenever you are ready, you may take over.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me today. I have Meryl Cole on the line. Oops, sorry, I'm going to go up one more. As well, Meryl is our Antrim County board representative. So she is going to chime in here at parts, and I'll just, I guess, get started. I believe I spoke to the EDC about maybe a year or so ago. So some of this may be repetitive. So just if you have any questions and want me to slow down, just let me know. So Housing North was founded in 2018. Our founding partners are here on the screen, the Fry Foundation, Rotary Charities of Traverse City, and Networks Northwest. And we focus on three core areas: communications and awareness, advocacy and policy, and capacity, all around housing. We cover the 10 counties in Northwest Michigan, as you can see on the map. And our office is in Traverse City, which is right now the most central place for all of our board members and as a location. So I just wanted to start by sharing a little bit about how and where we work. So we do work across the income spectrum from 0 to now almost 150% of the area median income, where we're finding people actually are priced out and need to find housing. And this chart was taken from the State Land Bank, where it shows where some of the funding is available for some of these projects. And of course, there's still limited funding, but we do know that there's not a lot of assistance or support for those in what we call the attainable housing arena. And so we are focusing right now specifically on bringing in more housing in that area, as well as working with our partners along the income spectrum. So a little background: in 2019, we partnered with Networks Northwest to bring a target market analysis, or to commission one for 10 of our counties. So that projected the need for those currently living and working here and those who would move here if they could find a place to live in all of our 10 counties. And it showed that we needed about 15,000 of those units, both rental and home ownership, across the county. And each of those are on our website. There's a report for Antrim County specifically, a summary, and then a more comprehensive report. You can see that the bulk of the need was estimated for rental units, but we also do need almost 5,000 home ownership units. And then just to break it down a little bit, in Antrim County, we estimate that there's about almost 900 units needed. And you can see the range of income where it's estimated that these are needed. And I should say that across the 10 county region, really the bulk of the need is for those making about $40,000 a year or less. But we do need diversity in housing options across that income spectrum, and just more types of housing to meet the current need. And just to kind of put this in sort of what is that income. So in Antrim County right now, my current numbers are that the area median income is about $70,400. When we're talking about affordability, we really don't want people to be paying more than 30% of their income on their rent. And in our region, on average, people pay about 50% to drive and for their rent, so transportation and housing costs. So in Antrim County, in order to be able to afford affordable rent would be about $700 a month for the average worker in your community. And I can share some of this offline once we're done as well. A lot of it is on our website. So I just want to go over kind of the three areas that we focus on, and then Meryl is going to help me in a little bit here to talk about what's happening in Elk Rapids. So as I mentioned, we focus on communications and advocacy, which is really trying to help our communities be able to come housing ready. And in 2020, during the pandemic, we launched a kind of a campaign to get our units of government and people to understand the need, and introduce our communication toolkit and our housing ready checklist. And these are both available on our website. We encourage every unit of government that has planning and zoning and in general to fill out this checklist and have it be part of their master plan process, and whenever they update their zoning ordinance. We also developed a strategy through this work, which I'll talk about in a minute, to bring housing ready staff or technical support to our communities. And really over the first year, when I started in 2020, we had a goal of at least 10 units of government supporting our housing ready program, and acknowledging there's a problem and wanting to work with us to develop more housing. And we did get 12 units of government, including Bel Air, which is in Antrim County, and over 30 organizations and businesses to sign on. Some of the programs that we have at Housing North, as I mentioned, our Housing Ready program, which I'll go into later. We also launched a deed restriction program for year-round housing in the city of Charlevoix, and that has since been expanded to Petoskey, and some information about that is on our website. We're also about to announce an accessory dwelling unit program in Charlevoix County, and we hope to expand this to other areas where we're really trying to open up the opportunity for individuals to participate in some of the housing solutions. We also have a lot of advocacy trainings, educational trainings and webinars. And then at the end of October, on the 27th and 28th, we'll have our 8th annual Housing Summit. And I can share more information with Margie to pass out to the group on how to sign up. So one other thing I just wanted to mention and talk about is our policy work and advocacy, where we are on the executive team of a statewide coalition called the Housing Michigan Coalition, and really wanted to take some of our policy goals and initiatives to the state level and try to make some changes that would allow our units of government to be able to deploy more tools for housing. These are not mandatory, these are opt-in. And right now, if you go to this website and follow us, and we'll be putting out some news on this, but we have 4 bills that we're hoping to get onto the House floor. And those are really exciting bills because they will bring more tools such as expansion of a neighborhood enterprise zone to our region, allowing pilots or payments in lieu of taxes for all types of housing projects, not just those that require a state or federal subsidy for our working class or year-round workers. And then we're also, one of these is not on there, but there are some residential facilities exemptions and Attainable Housing and Rehabilitation Act that will help to bring more opportunities for housing into our region. So we encourage everybody to learn more and let your representatives know that these are really important to our community, and these tools will really help bring more housing solutions to our region. I'm going to back up just for a second, and I should have mentioned that, right now it is nearly impossible. It is impossible to bring affordable housing to our region, or housing that is less than about $200,000 per unit, or rents that are $1,000 or less, without some incentives or support or philanthropy involved. One of the other things that we're focusing on is ways that you can make changes to your zoning to help incentivize housing and become housing ready. So this PDF that you see on the right is available to download and to share, but we're also supporting other legislation such as community land trusts, which is a shared capacity model for homeownership. And we're advocating for the Office of Rural Development to have more support, and also participating in other statewide coalitions to help bring ultimately more housing to our region to meet the need. So capacity, this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about our Housing Ready program, but really we are here to help with technical support and to help bring these new tools and resources to your community. And that can look like a variety of things, but in 2020, we were excited to partner with the city of Charlevoix through their housing action groups to bring our Housing Ready program. And I wanted to just mention, since Meryl's here, that we do have a whole bunch of housing action groups or teams that have been formed in our community, including Elk Rapids. And so the work that we do, we really do need these groups to be able to understand the needs in the community, the goals for housing. So when we do place technical support or staff, we have a conduit and a group to work with. So this is where I'm going to turn it over to Meryl for a minute to talk about what she's doing in Elk Rapids.
Yeah, thank you, Yarrow. And as Yarrow mentioned, I'm the Antrim County representative on the board of Housing North. I also work for the Elk Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce, and I am the chamber representative on the Elk Rapids Housing Task Force. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's happening in our small town right now in regards to affordable housing. So the task force reconvened last fall after the, post-COVID, and quickly developed a 2-part strategy. Step 1, we really felt it was very important, given some missteps in the community in regard to affordable housing development. It was very important to build awareness and educate our community about why housing is in crisis. And not only just make people more aware, but hopefully by educating them and bringing them up to speed on this issue, when we would start to develop or work on a project, we gain more support rather than having an immediate pushback effect. So We did develop this housing education piece, 2 pages of which are featured here. We included local data, Elk Rapids data, as well as county level data about why housing is in crisis. But I think more importantly, we included testimonials from business leaders like Joe Short, who talked about why it's so difficult for him to attract talent. This story here, you can't read it, but it talks about a particular employee he was recruiting from the state of Colorado, but who turned down the offer because of the lack of affordable housing in the area. And also, as you probably know, Joe Short is really active in trying to develop housing for his employees in the county. Another important testimonial in this piece was from our Elk Rapids schools superintendent, Julie Brown, who linked the declining enrollment in the schools to affordable housing. We don't have enough housing for people who work in the schools. So it was a very important piece. We mailed it to 1,200 Elk Rapids residents in the spring of 2022. Next slide, please. And that brought us to step 2. The task force felt it was really important to kind of put our money where our mouth was and start a project. So we begin with looking at the low hanging fruit, and that meant assessing village-owned properties first. When we looked at various opportunities within village limits, it became apparent that the primary opportunity were on 2 parcels located just south of Government Center. You'll see them outlined here in yellow on Bridge Street. And these 2 parcels, they currently house, the north parcel is the site of recycling bins. The south parcel is the site of the community garden. So we're working diligently to help relocation efforts for both recycling bins and a new village-owned property for our community garden to move to. The next step was to conduct a title search. We surveyed these 2 parcels, which are not joined at this time, but will be joined for combined total of 1.4 acres for development. We also conducted wetlands delineation. There are 2 wetlands areas on the south parcel. The south parcel, one is small and one is rather large on the east side there. And we'll work with all the necessary agencies to make sure that we're in compliance as we move into development. And finally, because these 2 parcels were at one time the site of oil tanks, we are doing some geotech sampling, and we'll continue down that course with the developer to ensure that if this is in fact brownfield parcels, that we're again working in compliance with all that needs to be done there. Our smaller committee led by village manager Brian Grusbeck and zoning and planning administrator Carrie Janice and myself, Carrie developed an RFP for prospective developers, which includes all the necessary information, obviously, about the 2 parcels. And specifically, I just wanted to call out that, and because the RFP was just approved last night at Village Council, I can make this available now, but Yarrow talked earlier about the targets for affordable housing. We are actually looking at workforce housing rather than that, which is kind of on the lower end of that income scale. So we're trying to target individuals in Antrim County where the AMI is, or the area median income is $51,900. So qualified renters for our proposed development would earn approximately between $25,000 and $41,000. And rents would be restricted to 30% of the monthly income. So we're very excited. We're about to get our RFP out to a short list of developers. Yarrow was very instrumental in helping us pull together that list of developers who we hope will be interested in our project. And yeah, and then we'll move forward. Hopefully we'll be breaking ground here within the next few months. Thanks.
Thanks, Meryl. And, we wanted to bring an example of an existing, housing action group or committee through the village that's working on it. But also, I think Meryl and I are interested in if there's an interest, in this group with a countywide effort too, where we could be working countywide. So I'll just mention that. And what I'm going to talk about next with our Housing Ready program is ways that we could support this and where this is happening in other communities. And we'll have some time for questions for Meryl after, because I'm sure there will be a few. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about our Housing Ready program, which is, we're excited because we recently expanded this and just yesterday hired 2 new staff who will be working in Manistee and Leelanau County. And this is really boots on the ground staff that are helping with the community development aspect of housing. A lot of our communities do not have support or staff that are have expertise in housing in particular, or just need some extra support. And these are boots on the ground through a shared capacity model. So I'll explain just a little bit about that, but wanted to just share that, we do feel like it will take all of our communities to help become housing ready. And in this case, the program is hosted by Housing North, but they do work in the community. Right now, we were fortunate enough to receive a grant to have a floating housing ready person that will be providing support for a year in Benzie, Antrim, and Grand Traverse County to see if this is an interest of the community, but also to just help provide some of that technical support that I am not available to do right now. And we do see quite a need. We really want the work that we're doing to help our communities become housing ready to be guided by your goals for housing, and have many partners that will have contributed to these positions. For example, in Charlevoix, where it started, it's a shared capacity model between 2 foundations and then 4 units of government through a contract for services. In Leelanau, it looks a little bit different. We have quite a bit more grants, but we also had the county contribute towards the position of $20,000 a year for 3 years, and the same in the city of Manistee and the county of Manistee. So we really are seeing our units of government wanting to support this work, and also the community. We do really feel like it's important to have a local housing group or a group involved in the process, and we secure funding for 3 years so that when we place this person, it has the most impact in the community. A lot of people ask, what do these housing ready people even do? And it is very complex, and we do call it working with undefined parameters because every day is a little bit different, but really they're there to help create more funding tools, help facilitate and coordinate housing developments, work with the local resources that you have, and then your communities to help with some of those housing solutions and choices. We do, as I mentioned, do quite a bit of advocacy and education, going around to our units of government, helping them with the housing ready checklist. In this case, Steve helped with different housing surveys for Charlevoix County. We've coordinated workshops and worked on, reasonable regulations for short-term rentals to help offset any negative impacts. And these are just, a few examples. A lot of our work isn't measured by housing units, but how much we've helped remove those barriers and advocate. So in this case, we can say Steve, through Charlevoix County, successfully advocated for rezoning of 145 housing units. And he's also been directly involved in a brownfield TIF, or tax incremental financing project, in the city of Charlevoix, in the county of Charlevoix, that will bring at least 5 units of affordable housing in partnership with a nonprofit developer per year through this program. And that's being developed right now. We also really hope to bring in more funding and build upon existing resources and tools. So right now, as I mentioned, the Housing Michigan Coalition bills hopefully will bring more tools, but we also have an opportunity through our state land bank and county land banks to use the Brownfield Redevelopment Act and program and tax incremental financing for housing, which is a very new opportunity and tool and is being used throughout the state. We've also been partnering with a lot of our community foundations and other partners to help create local housing solution funds, or ways we could offer some gap financing or support for those gaps in affordable housing. So right now, for example, in Leelanau County, the gap in bringing a project down to the affordable rate is about $90,000 per unit. Just some examples of projects that are in development, and a lot of this is on our website, so I didn't go into a lot of detail, but as I mentioned, the deed restriction program, which is really for year-round housing. It's not necessarily an affordability tool right now, but we also really work to create housing opportunity maps, as Meryl mentioned in her project, just really trying to find where those, first of all, low-hanging fruit options are, owned by an existing unit of government, a church, or a low-cost opportunity, because land is really the biggest barrier. We're also really there to help with master plan and zoning amendments and support the housing advocacy teams within your community. This is just one example through the accessory dwelling unit program, where we mapped out areas where this could, these accessory dwelling units would be allowed. And then through our program, you could get plans to be able to help offset the cost. The plans are worth about $5,000 each. And by enrolling in the program, you get support to become a property manager, to walk through the zoning regulations, and ultimately help with you to become a successful landlord and build one of these units. So that's one example we'll be announcing this week. And again, we hope to bring it to some of our other communities. So I just wanted to close, and of course we'll have some time for questions, but if your community is interested in Housing Ready or working with us, we really, these are the steps, but we also just wanted to bring that idea to you to see if there is any interest in the community, and we'll be coming around throughout the year to just see if this is a goal of Antrim County, but also just to try to help form partnerships and begin the outreach and advocacy in your community to see who would maybe champion this program and would want to see it come to your community. These are our staff, so I just want to thank you for your time. I could talk about a lot more, but wanted to just hit the highlights. We did just launch the program, as I mentioned, in Manistee and Leelanau County. We also have Andrea Jacobs in Emmett County, and Alana is our program administrator. And then we are hoping to we are hiring in Charlevoix County. So if you know anybody looking for a position, we do have a vacancy there. And I'll stop talking and just see if there's any questions about our work and how we can help bring some of these tools and resources to your community.
Thank you, Yarrow. I know we also have some folks online, so if you have a question and you're joining us through the webinar link, go ahead and raise your hand and Margie will give you permission to talk. Anyone have questions?
I do. I noticed that first of all, what is your idea of a landlord? I noticed that there's a lot of grant money out there, but I've been a landlord since I was 24 years old, and I don't see any of the issues addressed here that landlords face. And basically, a lot of the laws have pushed a lot of people out of being landlords because the laws are so against the landlord and for the person who does not pay their rent, perhaps for up to a year. So do you have any solutions for that issue?
I guess we're trying to use the word property manager and figure out more ways how we can connect with property managers like you and be able to, I guess, incentivize or help with more year-round housing, because we know it's being lost pretty quickly because of some of the issues you've mentioned, but also because of conversions to short-term rentals. So I would say there's organizations and agencies, not ours, like the Nmcaa, that can help provide some of these tools and resources for landlords, but that's not necessarily my wheelhouse. But we want to build, I guess, a program and be able to understand more how we could support year-round property managers, and also focus on, not everybody wants to own a home. So we definitely do need more year-round rentals. So anyway, I'd be open to ideas or any ways we could support that. One of the goals we have is to start a rental preservation program so that we could work with landlords to be able to provide more support and understand how we could help, not maybe just for the voucher holders or people on a certain income level, but for those across the income spectrum, all the way up to even, 150% of the area median income, because we do need rental units in that whole range. So I don't know if that totally answers your question, but we do hope and want to provide support for year-round landlords.
Yeah, and my comment back to you is that's exactly why I converted my rentals to short-term. Because you cannot, if someone decides they're not going to pay, you can't get them out. And you go to the judge, and the judge says, well, I'm going to give them another 6 months. And you can't afford to make the payments for them and the utilities and all of that. And so you convert to short-term to avoid those type of legal issues.
Well, thank you. That's really important feedback. And I would also mention too that we're looking at a bill through the state legislature that would allow the homestead property exemption for landlords who would want to do year-round rentals, because we do recognize that some of the taxes could be a barrier to keeping a year-round rental. But that is something that didn't make the bill package this year. But if you have any feedback or suggestions, please get in touch with me offline too. I'd like to learn more.
Thank you.
We have a question over here.
Meryl from Elk Rapids. Excuse me. How many community members are involved? on the committee, the housing,
On the task force,
right?
everyone is a community resident except for myself, I believe. I live in Traverse City and I'm on the task force because I work for the chamber, as I mentioned. The task force is comprised of, I want to say, 12 people, business owners in the community. They're volunteers. We have one person who is a huge volunteer in our region and is not a business owner, but she's a resident. So if I am ticking down this list correctly, I believe everyone but myself is a resident.
Okay, but most of them, a good portion of them are.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In the
Almost
government.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe there's no questions online. Is there any more here? I really appreciate this. Thank you, both of you. And I meant to say earlier that this is being recorded, so we'll be playing it back and it will be available on our website as a resource, both for business owners and community members and community leaders, because I think it's important information to get out. Please feel free to stay on. We do have a NMCAA joining us for the second half of this. So thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
And it looks like maybe is Tish our speaker for NMCAA?
Hi, there's actually a group of us and I see most of them are still sitting in the attendees column. I don't know if there's a limit on how many people can be panelists.
I'm going to leave that up to Margie, who's in the back room, as I don't have any control out here today.
Oh, it looks like they're getting added in there. Perfect.
And as I just shared with Housing North and Yarrow and Merrill, it's being recorded so that we can use this as a tool for our small businesses, our community leaders and residents. We do also have some folks online that are joining us. So if they have questions, they'll raise their hand and we'll be able to give them permission to speak.
All right, very good.
You did bring a whole group with
Yes.
you, didn't you?
We always do. Yeah, we always come in a team and we did again today.
Wonderful.
So I have the PowerPoint, so I can pull that up and share. Okay, would you like me to go ahead and get started?
Whenever you're ready, you're in charge now.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us here today. My name is Carrie Bachman, and I'm the Executive Director of Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency, otherwise known as NMCAA. I want to just tell you a little bit about the organization in case you're not familiar with NMCAA, and then really let you hear from the program leads that are with us today to talk more specifically about the programming that they provide in your communities. NMCAA has been around for quite a while. We've been an organization since 1974, and we serve the 10-county region of Northwest Michigan from Emmett County down to Roscommon and over to Benzie County. Some of our programming does extend beyond those borders, but that's our primary service area. And as a community action agency, we are part of a network of community action agencies throughout the state of Michigan and throughout the nation. And so every community in Michigan is served by community action. Our community action agency happens to be particularly large. And serving the 10 counties, we have 3 main offices, one in Petoskey, one in Traverse City, and one in Cadillac. And our primary mission and goal is to address the causes and conditions of poverty in our communities. So community action was designed to be a local response to poverty, and programming across community action agencies looks different as a result. It's really based upon the needs of the community and those that we serve in terms of what kinds of programs and services we offer. And how do we figure that out? Well, one of the key pieces that we use is our community needs assessment, which is completed every 3 years. So we just recently completed our latest assessment in December of 21. And you can see in the middle of the screen sort of the top needs that emerged between the secondary data that we use and the over 1,200 surveys that were administered. None of them were a surprise. You know, the primary need expressed was related to the impacts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 2, gaps in affordable housing, quality and access to housing, gaps in early childhood education, support for seniors, transportation, and food and nutrition. If you're interested in really looking at our community needs assessment, you can find it on our website. I included it at the bottom of the screen under About Us, Agency Financials and Reports, to really, you know, take a look at more of the data and more of the qualitative data and the input that we got from residents. I think the quote on the side is a good example of some of the feedback that we got from those that we talked to. And many of the people that come to us for service come through one particular program and then end up accessing multiple programs to support them and their families in becoming financially stable. So today, as you can see, we brought a team just to provide a high-level overview of the types of programs that we offer, particularly related to housing, again, with opportunities for us to today or at another time dive more deeply into any of the programming that you'd like more information about, and be available for questions and answers. Nmcaa is a large organization. We have programming serving expectant families all the way through homebound seniors, providing nutritious meals and safety checks and reducing isolation. So we have a broad range of programming that we offer. What is consistent is we really utilize a case management approach. So we are able to build relationships with those we serve, to provide multiple supports for them and to do that over time. I think the quote on the prior slide was a good example of a family that came through our free tax preparation program to get their taxes prepared, ended up taking budgeting classes and home buyer education classes while their child was experiencing one of our free high quality Head Start classrooms. So that really is a good example of the breadth and the comprehensive nature of the supports that we can provide through community action. So we do a lot, but we don't do everything. We are not developers developing workforce housing. We're not managing property at this time, but we do play an important role in addressing housing issues in our area through financial education, improving existing housing stock, and certainly assisting those who are experiencing homelessness and becoming housed. So we are really thankful for this opportunity today to talk with you and share some information about the programs that we provide in your communities. And we're also interested in hearing from you and hearing any thoughts or suggestions that you might have about how we can continue to or expand our services in Antrim County. So with that, I'm going to turn the conversation over to Tish Stave, who is the lead for our housing and energy efficiency services. And she's going to talk a little bit about this programming and really how it relates to improving quality stock in Antrim County.
Thank you, Carrie. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us today. So as Carrie said, my name is Tish Stave. I am the Housing and Energy Efficiency Services Program Lead. And this is a department that we have recently formed by merging our existing weatherization assistance program and emergency home repair programs together. They have in the past really operated side by side, and we could send people to this program if that was applicable, and then they would head to the next. And we are really trying to take more of what we're calling a house-centric and a more comprehensive approach to our housing programs to make sure that we're doing everything in somebody's home all at once. And so they don't have to apply multiple times. We can really treat them holistically. So our two programs, Weatherization Assistance and Emergency Home Repair, address housing needs through improving the health and safety and energy efficiency of the housing. We're allowing residents to remain in their current housing and making it more affordable for them to maintain and operate. And as I'm sure everybody here knows, and we just heard about from Yarrow, about the affordable housing shortages in our communities. And so we're really trying to keep people who are in housing there and making sure that they're in a healthy and safety environment. Can you go to the next slide, please, Carrie? So our weatherization program is funded by the Department of Energy, and it's administered through a contract with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. We provide free energy conservation services to low-income households. It's 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. And here are some examples of things that we're able to do. We do a lot of insulation, air sealing. We do ventilation, whole house ventilation, furnace and water heater tune-ups or replacements, and we do a lot of client energy education as well. We serve the whole 10-county service area. We're adding Manistee next program year, and we provide priority to elderly, disabled, or households with children, as well as those who have a high energy cost. So next slide, please. Here are some examples from Antrim County. In the past 3 years, we've weatherized 21 homes. All were owner occupied. $329,000 invested in those homes. And as you can see here, there are some stats on the energy savings that we have afforded those households that we served, and just some photos of some of the improvements we've done. All right, if you'd like to move to the next slide, we'll talk about our home repair program in Antrim County. So this is really focused more on emergency health and safety improvements that are needed in houses. We are able to do either, if it's $2,500 or less, the total repair, that can be a grant, but anything over $2,500 is a 0% deferred loan where there are no payments made through the life of the loan. It gets paid back when the title changes hands, and that allows us to serve more people in your community. So we currently, for this program year, have about $45,000 to spend in Antrim County, which we are very sure that we'll be able to spend actually probably pretty quickly. Last year, we spent $80,000 easily, and there was a $53,000 match provided by Antrim County to get to that amount. So we are going to stretch this funding as far as we can and serve as many people as we can, but we're always actively looking for more funding to do this good work. And next slide. Here are some examples of some of the improvements that our emergency home repair program has done. So really proud of the work that we do. We're able to employ a lot of small local contractors also, so that's an added benefit. Well, thank you.
So I'll go ahead now, and we're going to talk a little bit about our financial management services. So those financial literacy components and programs that we can offer that can really provide that vital skill building for families with some real particular programs that are targeted at creating homeowners. So I'll turn it over to Karen Emerson.
Hi, thanks for having us here today. I'm Karen Emerson. I'm the Financial Management Services Manager. We actually house the Home Ownership and Financial Empowerment Center, which technically was dubbed by NeighborWorks. We're one of charter members of 250 organizations throughout the country, which actually gives us opportunities to bring funding into our rural northern area, including some help with some of the deals that even Yarrow talked about earlier. But let's get down to the business here of financial management services. The foundation of everything we do in our programming is budget coaching. We do an analysis of a spending plan with each consumer or customer or resident in Antrim that comes to us. We create a personal action plan by reviewing their credit and seeing what we can do to help them either to look at their personal financial situation. Our team consists of 4 certified housing, HUD housing coaches. They provide also first-time home buying assistance, renter coaching, foreclosure prevention assistance. We also provide match savings programs that can be used for home ownership, education, or starting small businesses. In addition, we also have down payment assistance for those first-time home buyers. I'd like to insert a quick story here about a foreclosure customer. We actually had a most recent foreclosure customer that came to us from Antrim. Unfortunately, the family had been involved in a recent accident. They had gotten behind in their mortgage about $2,700. They came to us and didn't know what they were going to do. They were going to lose their home. So one of our budget housing coaches was actually able to sit down with them, look at their credit, their financial situation, and they could come up with $700 of this past due amount because they had lost some income. And we were able to not only coach them, but also assist, because sometimes we have pots of money that we can assist with. We assisted with $2,000 and actually helped make that whole situation whole. And then following that, we can continue to help that customer stay on their feet and look ahead. So besides budget and housing coaching, we also provide first-time home buyer and money management workshops, as Carrie mentioned earlier. We do that in person, virtual, or online, so we can meet people where they're at. And we also offer this to employers as an employee assistance program, or part of an EAP. And there's a fee for that, but we can come right into the organization and help, which I think probably a lot of the businesses in Antrim would benefit from, because we're doing that in several of the other areas. We also offer free tax preparation, as you saw in some of the previous slides, and we have certified IRS volunteers. We've been doing this program for over 20 years, and we serve about 3,200 people throughout 10 counties. And that is a free service. But in conclusion, we recruit a lot of volunteers for our tax program, for helping us with clerical duties and maybe sitting in workshops and helping assist our budget housing coaches. And we also look for college interns. So we do a lot of recruiting that way. And we're really excited to have some of these young folks come and help us and be part of what community action is and find out more if that's the kind of social work they'd like to do. So what I'd like to do is to encourage you to please like us on Facebook. We are Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency on Facebook. Follow us there. All the programs that I mentioned are highlighted there. Check out our website at nmcaa.net, because that's a great resource for all the programs we're talking about. And Carrie mentioned that earlier. And finally, my contact information and our program information is on this slide. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, because it's a lot of information, and this is just a tip of the iceberg of all the programming that we offer in this small program. But FMS intake at nmcaa.net is definitely how you can get a hold of Emily and find out how a customer or you can actually access the services that we offer. Thank you so much again, and I'm available for emails or questions at any time. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. And now I am going to introduce Sarah Hughes, who is our lead for homeless prevention. NMCA is the area HARA, which is the Housing Assessment and Resource Agency. So we're the sort of the cornerstone agency for the coalition of programming in the area to address homelessness. So thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Carrie. My name is Sarah Hughes, and again, I'm the lead homeless programs manager for our 10 counties and a part of the Northwest Coalition to End Homelessness. Our work is really to strive to make homelessness rare, brief, and one time. Currently, we have our offices that Carrie said in Petoskey, Traverse City, and Cadillac, and we are working in youth, veteran families and chronic homelessness throughout those 10 counties. And then supportive services for veteran families, we actually cover 23 counties. So our programs can help those who are at imminent risk of homelessness or who are literally homeless. And I'll kind of define those for you a little bit just so that you have some understanding. Our homeless programs for those that are literally homeless, they cover different programs dependent on need, and clients will either be available to utilize 6 to 36 months worth of leasing assistance, as well as 36 to 40 months of supportive services case management, which walks alongside the individual or the family from homelessness to successfully housed to independent in their housing. So even after they've completed a program, we call it graduating or moving up, we are able to stay on for an additional 6 months with clients to help them work through their current situations and paying their own way through their leasing and utilities and things like that. So it really does help individuals and families get that independence that they're all striving for if they have incorporated or experienced anything within the homeless system. And our prevention services are for those that are at imminent risk of homelessness. If they've experienced receiving a eviction notice, or if they're living with others and have been told that they need to leave, we are able to help them with up to 6 months of back rent, or 3 months back and 3 months forward if they qualify under that 50% average median income. So we are able to help most people who call our call center for assistance. Our call center is available 24 hours a day, but it is a callback system, so there isn't live call access. We do call people back within 24 hours though. With our supportive services for veterans family, it does cover Northwest Michigan as well as Northeast Michigan. So it does cover all the way to Gaylord and Holton Lake, those areas. And our case managers have very manageable caseloads. So they're working with 12 to 16 individuals or families so that they're able to check in with clients once a week and be in the homes at least once a month. Our area of expertise is really that case management tool and helping people become independent with support through different other local agencies, including Michigan Works. In different areas, it's different shelters, but in Greater Grand Traverse and Antrim, it is Goodwill of Northern Michigan. And also we have other connections through mental health and wellness and health clinics that our clients are all connected with while we are working with them. Again, my information is at the bottom of this slide, just like everybody else's, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. If you know someone who needs our support or services, have them call our 844 number and we'll get them connected to where they need to go. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to talk with you all.
Thanks. And finally, just wanted to say a couple of words about our early childhood programs. Certainly part of the larger equation that families are facing in terms of affordability. And so we are a program that offers multiple programming for expectant families through children age 5 in both a home visiting setting and a center-based setting. So, you know, our philosophy really is the entire family and recognizing the pivotal nature of the family in the child's education. And so what makes us unique in some of our program really is that we have supports for the family and the child and recognize family well-being in the child's education process. And so you can see in this chart where we have classrooms in the Antrim County area where we have children in either settings that are already in existence where we're partnering or our own classrooms. One thing that is new is we are opening a infant toddler care classroom at our Mansalona site for 8 children. We know that this is a huge need, and we are bringing a classroom of 8 to Mansalona this fall. You know, like I said, we have home visiting programs as well. And so we are visiting over 40 families in the county currently and supporting families in their child's transition into their next educational setting. So that is the end of the PowerPoint. Again, we want to thank you for your time, and we're all available if you have any questions you'd like to ask us at this point, or anything that you would like us to do in the meantime to bring back to you with additional information.
Thank you, Carrie. Anyone have any questions inside?
Of course I do. What percentage of the people you help, what are the underlying causes? I mean, I hear that you're offering some mental health services, but what percentage of these people that you are helping, do you have any statistics on that? Alcoholism, drug use, gambling, those sort of issues that are causing this problem that you're dealing with?
You know, I think I don't have any numbers with me today. I think we have some information that we do collect that kind of gives us some idea about those pieces that you're referring to, but recognizing that mental health supports is a huge component, and many of our programs have those available. So our housing programs and our early childhood programs have the capacity to bring in mental health supports for families and children. And so that's a key part of what we do. So much of it, there's confounding factors. And each story is individual and complicated, and there's a lot that is connected to trauma and generational trauma that we're trying to bring supports to break cycles and to provide resources that families and individuals might not have access to otherwise. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that.
I do, Carrie. I also want to point out that we don't have barriers to access to our services. So even if they are experiencing a lot of those things, like, we walk alongside them for them to get help with those areas, but we don't have barriers for them to enter into our programs, no matter what they're going through.
Yeah, I guess I was looking for a specific profile of the people that you are helping, but I guess what I'm hearing is there's a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I was a Head Start mom. So it could be anywhere. You know, mine was due to the recession in 2009. I was pregnant and laid off. I got assistance that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess how much of this assistance is basically due to joblessness or loss of income versus more personal issue, drug abuse, things like that? Do you have any stats that way?
Well, we've seen in the last few years, and I think it was evidenced in the community needs assessment, that loss of income had a huge impact over the last 2 years. And so I think that's always a piece of the puzzle. Certainly the wage scale, we've got the families that are working 2 and 3 jobs and still qualifying for our programs. But certainly that loss of income over the last 2 years really has had a impact to a greater degree. And so, we've had supports over the last few years through COVID funding that has helped to offset that for families. We've had the coronavirus emergency rental assistance program. We had some real flexible funding to help with a variety of needs that we received for families that came to us through our community services block grant. So I think that the one thing that we found is, in this really time of crisis, we have really good connections in the communities to families. So we were able to implement these programs quickly and get what's needed out to families. So right now it's just a quick FYI, but we're starting a diaper program. So we've got the ability to work with local pantries, health departments, baby pantries to get diapers into the community for families that need it. So when there's a need, I think we're effective in being able to address it with the funding that we do get and get it out in the community quickly. So I think we were able to do that over COVID to offset some of the hardships that people were facing with that loss of income question.
I think it's also important to note that, of course, there are people that we assist that have those underlying issues that were mentioned, but a lot of people that we assist, especially with home repair and weatherization, are seniors and they're disabled and they're on a very low fixed income. And for the improvements that we're able to do to keep them in their homes, they don't have any other options because of the rising expense of anything home related. So we do help a lot of people to remain in their housing that wouldn't have an option. If they had to leave that home for some reason, there's no housing available and they wouldn't be able to afford the upfront costs to get into that new housing.
I guess I'd like to chime in too. Financial management services, I always tell people, we help people from the time that they're homeless right on through the time that they become homeowners and after. And so that's really from cradle to, grave. And for example, and I think this addresses the income, our income level for any of our financial management services for a family of four is $55,500. And as Carrie addressed earlier, a lot of our folks are putting together several jobs. A lot of our folks that are coming to us are college graduates, dual income families with children. In Northern Michigan, those are demographics often. So I do want to bring that together because we're working with our neighbors, and we really want to prop them up so that they can actually achieve economic self-sufficiency and be a stakeholder in their community.
I think also a challenge is making it acceptable to ask for help. And that's important, I think, here is to get that information out to everyone that knows that there are these services. 55,500. That's a lot of people I know.
So can you talk a little bit about your food nutrition program? Is that just an educational program? Or are you providing information to food banks or other services?
Sure. Yeah, the food nutritional program bucket that was on the slide was something we didn't cover today, but we have we operate Meals on Wheels in a number of our counties, but we also have two emergency food programs. One is called the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and that is a USDA funded program that provides quarterly food boxes. So we have distribution sites in Antrim County and throughout the 10-county region to bring, I think they're up to about 70 pounds of food quarterly to families that need them. And the other program is the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, and that's for seniors 60 and over. Again, it's food box delivery at a variety of locations, and we are very flexible in where we deliver. So if there's a spot where people congregate and want to pick up food, we're always willing to add an additional site to our delivery schedule. But if you, I'd be happy to follow up, or you can go to our website and we have the distribution schedule for each county under that tab.
Oh, okay.
And I know that we also try to post as much information on the health center website too, regarding the quarterly pickups and the food banks.
I do have a question about the future. You've been using a lot of the COVID monies that have been available and granting. Where do you see your funding come from once that all dries up?
Well, in general, we are about close to 90% federal and state grants. And so, we consistently have Head Start and Early Head Start programming, weatherization programming, all the programming that you mentioned today. The things that we've been doing over the last few years have sort of been add-ons to that. We've sort of been able to sort of take on new pieces within the apartments that exist. So, right now, even though some of those really specific programs that we implemented are falling away, we're seeing a huge expansion within our home energy and efficiency services programming. Lots of money really targeted at improving existing home ownership stock and creating green efficiencies and green energy. So we're seeing an expansion there. We're seeing an expansion within our early childhood programs, just to name a few. So I think it's just sort of the ebb and flow. So I don't anticipate, and I'm not concerned that we're going to be scaling back in any way. I think we're just sort of shifting for the new conditions and circumstances.
Thank you.
I have just a comment that when I came in to the governing side 20 some years ago, at that time, there was almost a $2,500 shortage for someone who was living on what we consider our area median income, of being able to meet their needs in that community. So I don't think that's changed. And I think that you're right on. We got to make it acceptable to ask for this assistance.
Yep. Because there's a stigma.
We can't just say, it's the people that are not trying, because I'll bet the majority of yours are.
And I think there's a lot of stories, right? That we can always talk about the testimonials. I know of a person who works in the schools and works after school programming and then works on the weekend, who had to use the weatherization and the repair because she couldn't afford to fix her house.
Right. Right.
But yet holding 3 jobs.
And I have a question about pets, because I think this is becoming more of a concern. People having to give up their animals because they cannot afford to feed their animals. Are you involved in that in any way?
We don't have any programming directly addressing that, but when we are working with, whether it's a senior with our Meals on Wheels program or a family, and this is an issue, we have case management staff that can work with the family and try to see what supports are out there and provide assistance to them. I think during COVID, we did have some flexible funding where I think we did help out with a couple of those situations because number one, we had flexible funding to do that. And number two, the isolation factor, particularly for so many of our families and seniors, was so critical. And so we were able to help out with that. But as I mentioned earlier, sort of that case management approach that we have, if we don't have programs and services to directly address an issue the family is experiencing or an individual, we're there to support them and sort of walk alongside them to navigate the resources that are available and connect them.
And on a local basis, a little help from my friends just started, I think, a pet food pantry. So you can go in their entryway and you can drop off food or take what you need.
Well, that was my question. Are you linked to any of these organizations that offer free spay neuter? There's a organization in Traverse City. There's AC Paw here in Mansalona. There is, with a little help from my friends. I just wondered if you, and I know there's a place in Boyne, I can't think of the name right now. I wondered if that was a part of your program when you're dealing with these folks that have financial issues.
It's not part of our program specifically, but it's certainly a resource that we would connect families and individuals to. We have, I am not the resource specialist here, but we have resource specialists throughout the agency that are specific to communities to know and keep their finger on the pulse, what's out there for the individuals that we're serving in this area.
I don't think there's any questions online. I've been kind of keeping in touch with Margie through texting. Any other additional questions here?
Nice presentation.
Thank you very much. I know I'm going to reach out to you guys. I work with the Health Center in Antrim and Charlevoix County. So
wonderful. Well, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. We were happy to be here today. As you can see, we all showed up this morning.
I appreciate the power in numbers.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And did our Housing North folks stay on too at all? No. Oh, they're not elevated. Okay, thank you so much. And we'll be recording that, or it is recorded and hopefully posted in the next week.